Okay, we are going to take a look at restricting the content that we download or bring into or onto our iOS device. And we can restrict the certain types of content based upon their ratings and how appropriate they are for the different ages or the age groups that we have using our iOS device. So we are in general in our settings. We're going to move down to restrictions. We're going to enter in our passcode that we set earlier, and now we are in the actual settings within restrictions, and we are now going to move down to something called allowed content. And you can see here that we have the different types of content that we're talking about: music, podcasts, movies, TV shows, books, and even apps. We can set restrictions around what types of media and applications that we would allow to be installed or downloaded onto our iOS device. And as an example, I can show you for here the TV shows. We can restrict it to certain types of TV shows based on their appropriateness for different types of audiences. So for TV level of youth there, we can see TVY. That would allow us to keep the TV shows to a certain level. G-rated TV shows, we can leave it like that. And again, depending on who's using this device, who would have access to the device, we may choose to say no television shows whatsoever would be allowed to be downloaded onto our iOS device. Hitting restrictions up there at the top, we can back out, and we can do the same thing for books and apps and movies. If we go to apps, an interesting thing regarding apps, the rating here, again, similar to what we saw in movies and television shows, apps that are appropriate for ages 4 and up, apps that are appropriate for ages 9 and up, so on and so forth. It's interesting as you make these settings, if you are going to set restrictions for the types of apps that you have installed on your iOS device, know that if you set a restriction and let's say, for example, only allow apps that are appropriate for ages 9 and up, once I leave the restriction settings, you might notice that some of your apps are now missing. And that's because they did not meet this criteria that you just set in restrictions, meaning that if you had an application, and many of these might be applications that attach to or connect to social media platforms, you might see that those applications are now missing. And that is because you have restricted the access to those apps. Again, something to keep in mind after you've set these restrictions and you start to notice that apps that you once had access to or relied upon, if they're not there, it's probably because they are now restricted based on the settings that you've set in your restrictions. So that's pretty much it. Let's back out, and you can see here again, allowed content allows us to determine what types of media we want to see in there, whether it's music, movies, TV shows, books, and apps.